Have you read
universal.
the whole Bible, by the way?
Have you,
I
Joe?
did when I was a kid. I actually had Bible class in Florida. When I moved from San Francisco to Florida, I was 11 years old, and it was a complete polar opposite experience of the country. I lived in San Francisco with two parents that were hippies in Haight-Ashbury. So we were in the middle of, like, we lived near Lombard Street. We were in the middle of, like, the hippie anti-war revolution of the 1960s. And then I moved to Gainesville, Florida. My stepdad was going to, he was becoming an architect. He was a computer programmer, and then he switched careers, became an architect. And so he was going to a University of Florida at Gainesville. And so we were there. So now all of a sudden I'm around alligators. There's fucking alligators everywhere. It was like, what are you people retarded? Why do you have giant monsters everywhere? This is so ridiculous. So we had alligators, super weird, swampy weather, and religion. Yeah. Religion was in the schools. Like in public school, you had Bible class. And they also paddled you. It was the first time I'd ever been hit by a teacher.
In Florida.
I got in this fist fight with this kid, and they whacked us with a paddle.
One of the things that a lot of people who have read the Bible, or they have read a portion of the Bible,
I definitely don't think I read the whole thing.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's not very many people do, and that's why I asked, because
I appreciate his honesty, by the way, because a ton of people lie. I've read the whole Bible back and forward 500 times. Yeah, good one.
A lot of it is kind of tedious history, and there's a lot of he begats, and there's the whole line, you know, of Christ, all the ancestors, and the whole delineation of all that. And where I come from, we were encouraged to read like a verse of the Bible, but they would always tell you what it meant.
Right.
And so I kind of went against, I used this little pen light and like did it like late at night, but I read the whole thing cover to cover when I was 8. And if you read like every single book in order, you start to find that there's a lot of really beautiful, you know, places in the Bible, but there's a lot of stuff that's really violent. And then there's a lot of stuff that contradicts itself. And it's because it was written in different time periods by different authors in different languages. And
so it's clear she read the Bible and she didn't understand it, okay? She read it as a book. When you don't read the Bible as a book, the Bible is a library of books. So
it also has historical context. And so generally there's a lot of stuff that people leave out when they teach the Bible because it's really hard to explain.
Like what stuff?
Well, there's, for example, I mean, this one's taught a little bit, but David, King David, I'm sure you've heard of him, like as of David and Goliath, but then he became a powerful king. And he saw this woman this woman is often talked about, Bathsheba. He sees her bathing on a roof. And where we came from, we were taught like she shouldn't have been bathing on the roof. Now, I don't right. Anyway, he demands that she come to him, and she is the wife of a soldier of his named Uriah, a top soldier, and he commands her to lie with him, and she becomes pregnant. And then King David, who is the same guy who had the slingshot of David and Goliath, decides that he's got to figure out how to get her husband back so that her husband can go sleep with her, and her husband won't do it because he's loyal to the army, and he comes back, but he sleeps like at the floor of the castle, you know, trying to...
Wait a minute, he's trying to get the husband to go back with the wife?
So that...
To remove the guilt, basically, which is crazy in and of itself. But hey, it's a great lesson that God was trying to teach us.
The pregnancy will seem like it's his.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So
in the Bible.
In the Bible.
Dirty David.
Yeah, exactly.
Dirty
and
David.
It doesn't even end there. So Uriah won't do it because Uriah is loyal to David.
Oh, boy.
And so then David sends him to the front lines to have him be killed.
Oh, boy.
So that he can marry his wife and get away with that child's not being a bastard child, illegitimate.
Oh, boy.
And then God kills the child because, you know, needs to make the point that David was... And think about poor Bathsheba. I mean, she's just been, like, wrung around. Her husband gets killed, all these things. Her kid dies because God is punishing David.
And her husband got killed because he was loyal to the guy who got her pregnant.
Absolutely. That's not a story a lot of people hear.
Oh, my God.
But you can fact check that one if you'd like.
Oh, no, I believe...
That's not true, to be honest with you. That is a story that a lot of people hear. Maybe if you're a new beginner Christian, it's not like, you know, top of the line, like, hey, we can't wait to tell you about this. No, it's like, the more you read the Bible, you're going to understand. But this shows you how when God tells you to stay in line or to stay in order, to do X, Y, and Z, focus on X, Y, and Z, because the the regret or the side effect of sin is essentially death. And you can see how it led from one thing, watching her shower, and then like, okay, you know what, lust and so forth, and then sleeping with her, and then to try and cover all this up, you went and got her husband pretty much executed by making sure he's at the front line of the war.
Yeah. I'm good at that. I'm good at just like, yeah, now I'll go argue it.
Want to hear another Bible story?
Sure.
Oh, let's go for it.
There was a woman named Tamar, and she had been married to one of 3 sons. I think there was 3. And her husband died before giving her a child. So, as was the custom in the time and perhaps the law, she married the brother of her dead husband. And that man would not give her a child because he didn't want to have a child in his brother's name. And so they're allowed to have more than one wife. But this woman was not allowed to have a child. So he does something they call onanism. So he like spilled his seed on the ground instead of inside of hers, that she couldn't have a baby. And so God gets really mad because Onan will not impregnate her. And so Onan gets killed too. And so then her father-in-law decides not to marry her off to the youngest brother because 2 of the brothers are already dead, right? And he doesn't want to lose his only son. So he just banishes her, and she has nothing, because what does a woman have at the time if she doesn't have a husband or a child? She has no ability to make a living in the world. And so this man is, the father-in-law is really unkind to her in a way that she decides she needs to take something into her own hands. And so she dresses up like a prostitute and goes to the side of the road. And as he's traveling on the road, she puts herself in front of him and offers her services, and he sleeps with her, and he does not have payment on him for some reason. And so he gives her his staff, which is a token of his word or something. So at least he's paying his prostitute. And she gets pregnant from this, and he orders her, when he finds out she's pregnant, to be stoned to death, to be killed and executed because, she's not allowed to have a baby outside of wedlock. And she said, okay, but let me just return this staff to you that I got from the father of the baby. And so then he ends up protecting her, and she gets to have the child, and that child is in the line of Christ.
Whoa.
Yeah. So really interesting things. I don't know what you're supposed to learn from that story. When I was a kid reading this, I would ask, and of course, no one really wanted to tell me because she was rewarded for that. That's the interesting thing.
It's the stories are crazy. It's just, if you're being honest and if you believe in God, but you also know that people are full of shit, you have to put all this stuff through a filter. You just have to. And it doesn't mean that there's no God.
Of course.
It doesn't mean that. It means there's probably something in these stories, but we have to be real careful with what that something is.
Well, and I don't profess to know. I don't know why.
They condone slavery. The Bible condones slavery, like flat out. It's in there all the time. It's like
yes.
Women are essentially second-class citizens. And you know what I found out recently? That there was a woman before Eve.
Depending on who you ask.
What are you talking about, man?
So what was that one?
Well, that's not in the 66 books of the Bible that most people are taught in the Protestant tradition, or the 69 or whatever in the Catholic tradition. That's part of the Apocrypha. So these are books of the Bible that didn't make it into, Christianity as such that we...
The editor's cut.
Today. Yeah, it was an editor's cut, exactly.
Yeah, she appears as if, but I don't think she's fully a Christian, because even when she's mentioning some of these stories anyways, with some accuracy, she's laughing, she's making a joke about it, and she's smoking, so she doesn't really seem like she's smoking, right? Is it me? Yeah, hold on, let's see. Yep. They're smoking, so it doesn't really look like a woman of God or like, any of this. It just seems like I read the Bible from back to back, from cover to cover, and then... as a brag, so to say, really, as a brag, and then, I didn't really discover much about it. It sounds like one of those people, trust me, I read the Bible front to cover, and, didn't really see much about it, just a bunch of this, a bunch of that, and then I was like, it's not for me. That's what this seems like, because at first, thanks, by the way, to the subscriber who sent this to me, at first I thought this is a serious woman who's about to educate Joe, and, about Christ and all, but yeah, these lot, they're laughing about it. But I don't know how long ago this video was though, because now there are rumors apparently Joe Rogan might be converting to a Christian. So I don't know, you let me know in the comment section down below. Have you seen anything? In fact, if you have, recommend it to me, and I'm going to be checking it out for sure, because I'm super interested in checking these kind of things out. Okay, smash the like button, link is in the description down below if you want to join and you do want to start a side hustle on YouTube and start earning a living income on YouTube. The link is in the description down below. God bless you all. I'll catch you on the next one.